Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Flynn, and I'm here with
Scott Lang.
And we are the Band Dads, here to bring you a podcast about something that we care very dearly about, which is music education and band.
Some of you are here because you want to learn about all things band. Some of you are here because you want to see a train wreck. And the answer is yes to both of those. We don't care why you're here. We're going to answer all the questions. We're going to say the things you're thinking. We're going to debunk all the myths.
Yep. This is the Band Dads Podcast.
The podcast by and for confused band parents.
I said the tagline. Hey everyone, Band Dad Chris here with a couple of programming notes prior to starting today's episode. First, I want to share with you that during the episode, you will hear mention that we are sharing with you the links to the videos that Scott and I use that are marching band samples that ultimately I end up judging. We decided after recording that it was better to let those bands stay anonymous. Plus, this day and age, you never really know who has the rights to post what content on what platforms, and the goal of the exercise was to have fun and to educate, not to get anyone in trouble. So during the episode, you're going to hear a few audio samples, and during that time, that's the prompt that ultimately Scott and I are reviewing the band. If you decide to participate along with the activity in this episode, when you hear those prompts, you can always pause us for a moment and then go locate and watch any marching band you would like in order to be your own judge along with me. Second, we want you to go to our website, banddadspodcast.com. Find episode 3 and click on it. In the notes, you'll see that there are some links to some downloads. One of those downloads is a visual guide that Scott created that is a one-page overview that covers all aspects of the adjudication process. This thing is really phenomenal and a game changer. We want you to have it, courtesy of the Band Dads, not just for your own sake, but for others as well. This document will be something that will be used as reference for any marching you watch now or in the future. This thing is seriously fantastic and should outlast this episode itself. Also, make sure that you're sharing it with others. Send it to your fellow band parents, booster members, bring it to your next meeting and introduce it there. Music educators who have marching bands, share this with your parents, well, even your students for that matter. This really can empower everyone and change the way we see marching band as an activity. Lastly, when you're done with this episode, we have also provided you your very own Band Dads Marching Band Judge Certificate. Print it out, show it off, hang it up, make it a cornerstone in your office or an impressive conversation piece to display in your home. You earned it, so show it off. Okay, ready to get into the actual episode now? All right, let's get to it. Welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Band Dads podcast. We've made it to 3. Yeah, well, magic number.
Yeah, we don't know that anybody's watching the 3rd episode, but like I said, if you came for the train wreck or you came for the information, we don't care.
We're here either way. That's right. So welcome. We have something really cool planned for this episode. It's called Do You Hear What I Hear? And as Scott promised previously, you're going to be a certified adjudicator.
Certified may be a bit of a stretch.
You said it multiple times.
Okay, we're going to put a certificate. You're right. We're going to put a certificate link in the notes where people can get their certificate and they can frame it and lord it over their band director and their child.
So I will tell you that that's actually a good point that he didn't necessarily mean to make, which is if you go to banddadspodcast.com, look for the episode 3, Do You Hear What I Hear? There's going to be some stuff in the notes there that will be important.
Very important.
To participate. And that's really what we want you to be able to do with this is not just listen to us. Again, if you just want to listen to us, that's fine. But there's going to be more to this one. We're going to have some depth available for you. And it's going to include visual aids. It's going to include some links to some fun stuff. So you definitely want to be able to get to our website, thebanddadspodcast.com, get to the episode 3 description and look for some links in there because certainly that will make this a lot more interactive and fun. You do that. So.
Yeah, and we hope that you'll join along in getting trained and getting certified and doing some analysis that even though you can't see the video, but we'll have the link there, that you're thinking and listening along. Because what we're going to do right now is we're going to train each and every one of you to be an evaluator of marching bands. Are you ready, Chris?
I am. So do you hear what I hear? Is this evolved Little Drummer Boy? Like, what are we using as our source for Do You Hear What I Hear?
I'll show you in just a second. But this all started when, I told someone else, I said, I'm a band dad until the band starts to play.
Okay.
And then I can't turn off my band director ears. I can't turn off my band director eyes. And it's really important for you to understand. It's not that I have better eyes or better ears than anyone. It's that I've been trained what to look for and what to watch for.
Okay.
And I'm absolutely convinced that I can revolutionize how you see this activity.
That's a strong word.
I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it, Chris.
Strong word, Scott.
If you taught me how to do a pivot table, that would be revolutionary to me. I'm going to teach you how to look at a marching band and see what other people don't. And I'm just going to say this. There are times I'm driving down the road or I'm watching a rehearsal or watching a band, and I get like a little emotional. Sometimes I tear up because I know I'm hearing a language no one else hears.
Gotcha.
That I'm seeing something that it's like magic. It's right in front of your eyes that you're not seeing.
Okay.
And I'm sure you have that same epiphany with numbers. I'm just saying you're trained.
Don't make me tear up, Joe. They do not, Scott. I'm sorry. I don't want to, burst your bubble, but they don't. But they pay my bills.
Okay, but if you taught me how to do a pivot table, would that not make you tear up just a little bit? Just a little bit?
Anyway.
Okay, apparently not.
Anyway.
Right, so here's what's going to happen. In a second, we are going to play a video that Chris has not seen.
I have not seen this, actually.
Or heard it. He knows nothing about it.
No.
I picked a random video off the internet, and we're going to play it for Chris. And we're going to ask him for, after 2 years of being a band dad, filmed countless videos of the band.
This is true.
You are probably better spoken to these issues better than most band parents. Fair point?
That's actually probably true.
Okay.
Every performance I'm there filming, recording, and then I go edit it. So I've watched our own school's performances hundreds and hundreds of times.
And I guarantee you, if you and I sat side by side during our own school's performance and I showed you everything that's going on out there, you would see the show in a light that you never even dreamed of.
I believe that.
So we're not going to do that because our own children are in that group. So we're going to pick on someone else's children right here. And because we can't say things about the band of our child's teacher, we want them to pass band, don't we?
We do.
Okay, good.
We want them to stay in band, as we've said in previous episodes. Yeah.
We're going to clip the audio in, and we're going to give you the link to the video so that you can do this in real time.
Yes.
But we're about to show Chris 1 minute of a marching band show, and he's going to act as an evaluator and an adjudicator of the program and tell us everything that he sees. Ready, Chris?
I hope so, Scott. I hope I can see that. Okay.
Adjudicator Chris Flynn.
Oh, boy.
You just finished watching an element of a band show, about 1 minute and 15 seconds of their show.
Okay.
Let's start with give me a number if you were adjudicating that from 1 to 100.
1 to 100?
1 to 100.
So 100 being like a perfect score, 100%.
Yes, correct. You're at a band competition, just like when we get our score right off, it's an 86.495. What's the score?
I would go probably 70-ish. If I had to.
And why would you give them that score?
I thought that what I heard was good, but I wasn't necessarily blown away by the performance that I heard. So I thought it was good enough that 7 out of 10 is like or 70% is like a C, roughly. That's how I guess in my mind I'm equating it to like a letter grade. So I thought it was skilled enough to. One of the things I think is the biggest thrill for a band parent like myself who doesn't necessarily know the technicalities of looking at a show, the very first thing is, oh, I know that song. Like I get excited because I know the tune they're playing. Like, oh, this is now relatable to me because I heard the song from Peter Pan. Like I know that song. So it almost allows me to be a little more judgmental only because I actually know that song. So it's familiar to me to say, I know what that's supposed to sound like, if that makes any sense. So I get excited when it's relatable that I know the music, which I can tell you is very common for other band parents.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Remind everyone what you do for a living.
I'm a data analyst.
Okay. Applying those same sets of skills of being data-driven and analytical, can you put a construct or a framework around your number?
Not necessarily. It's a lot of a feeling.
Okay, good. So that's totally okay. I love that you said that, by the way, because the thing is, most people believe that's what adjudication is a feeling.
Yes, because that's how we see it.
That's right.
Yes.
And what we're going to do is we're going to demystify that and teach everyone who's listening the construct and the framework that we use when we adjudicate bands. And I think you're going to find out that you as a data analyst might be better suited to be an adjudicator than me because you will apply objective data analysis to what you see versus emotion, because that's not what adjudication is. It's more analytical than people think it is. So Are you ready to become a certified adjudicator?
So you're going to remove my emotion for watching this, and you're going to help me just see the
This is
facts.
You being emotional? Seriously?
Well, sorry. When it's my kids, I guess it's different. it's a different feeling. But I'm able to see what I see, and I don't know any more than that. So I think certainly this will be important for me.
Okay. Are you, I guess a good example might be, are you a boxing fan?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, neither am I.
Yeah.
But they have different weight classes to make it a fair fight.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That I'm aware of.
So the first thing you need to know is bands are adjudicated by a rubric, but the rubric is placed against other bands based on size.
Okay.
So that band
makes
right
sense.
there is probably about 160 kids.
Okay.
That would be an open class band. They're at the highest level of achievement. Now, the
Okay.
reason that's important is because the number never changes. So perfection is perfection. And a band of 45 is probably less likely to have a balanced characteristic sound when they have 14 flutes and 1 trumpet. Fair point?
So I can assume things just based on the band size itself? That's what we're saying?
You can. You absolutely can.
Okay.
So when we look at this band, they're an open class. Now, you determine open class by one of 3 ways. Number 1, how many kids are on the field?
Okay.
Number 2, how many kids on the field play a wind instrument, which means you remove the color guard and the percussion ensemble.
Okay.
Okay. And the third and most indescribable way is by school size.
Oh, okay.
And there are national competitions that do that, which makes, frankly, very little sense to me because the school size may or may not equate to the size of the band.
I can think of schools around our school who have the same enrollment size, whose marching bands are nowhere near the size of our school. So I can't imagine using that as a basis for it.
So the whole point of doing that is so that you're not putting a 160-piece band against a 40-piece band.
Okay.
But that doesn't change the standard or the number.
Okay.
And so typically, because larger bands come with usually larger color guards, better instrumentation, more numbers hide more flaws, typically you see scores rise with band classification with band size. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that makes
this
sense.
is the highest level achieving band because
Okay.
they're not the highest achieving, they're the highest level of band in terms of class size.
Okay.
Whether you do it by school enrollment, whether you do it by instrument, whether you do it by
The
full
highest
numbers on field.
division, let's
Yeah,
call it.
fair point.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Now, there's 2 things you're looking for when you look at a band.
Okay.
There's only 2 characteristics that you're looking for. And you said one of them. You said the word feeling, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I did say feeling.
We call that effect.
Okay.
Okay. Effect is the impact it has on us as an audience member.
Okay.
Okay. Effect is partly design, the way the guy wrote the show, or the composer wrote the show, and the way the drill writer wrote the drill.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit later about that. That same set right there would have a greater effect had the drill writer done a better job of staging that band.
I see.
Okay. So effect, you understand, it's how we feel, correct?
Okay. Sure.
The next one is performance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the students perform,
Okay.
the level of achievement.
Gotcha.
So impact and achievement, we call it effect and performance. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
Okay. So you know the size of band you're seeing. So you're going to judge them at the highest level because they're the biggest band.
I see what you're
Okay.
saying. Yes.
You're going to look for 2 characteristics. What are those characteristics?
I'm going to look for effect and performance.
Right. Effect is how you feel.
How I feel
and-
and how
and-
well they did.
And you really did a nice job when you said, I know the song and it made me happy.
Yeah.
That wasn't an accident. They chose that for that reason.
Fair. That's
Okay,
fair.
good.
Okay.
So we know it's effect. Now, we weight effect and performance in 3 specific ways.
Okay.
Music gets 40% of the score.
Okay.
Okay. GE gets 20% of the score.
Okay.
And performance and visual gets 40% of the score.
Okay.
So music gets 40,
Okay.
marching gets 40,
Okay.
and general effect gets 20. So 40% what you hear,
Mm-hmm.
40% what you see,
Mm-hmm.
20% how you feel.
Okay. Now, how, and maybe this is something that you'll address further on, but how does an adjudicator hear? So, I mean, if you've got 160 kids on the field, how does an adjudicator identify if there is a misstep in performance? I'm not saying I would catch it as a normal, just common listener of a marching band show. How, as an adjudicator, how do they not overlook it or miss it? Because it seems easy with 160 kids on the field.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's experience. I would imagine you can look at a spreadsheet and spot an error before you actually catch the wrong calculation. This doesn't
That's fair.
This number's not right. It
Okay.
can't be right.
That's fair. Yeah.
Adjudicators sometimes that chord's not right. I can't tell you which kid's playing the F sharp, but I can tell you that's not right.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
That makes sense.
the other thing we do is we stage the judges. A lot of times you have the performance judge on the field, close to the kids.
Okay. I've seen the,
You
seen
have
them
the
walking around.
effect judge
Yeah.
up top.
Gotcha.
And so The effect judges are looking at the broader
whole
picture
field.
and the broader sound.
I see.
The individual judges are
Just
following.
actually walking around so they can. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so we know
That
the
makes
size
sense.
of the band impacts the way we adjudicate them. Fair point?
Yes.
We know that we're looking for two things. We're looking for effect and performance.
Yes.
One is how the kids perform. The other is how we feel.
Okay.
We know we're going to take that number. So whether it's a music effect, like how did that music make you feel? 70. And how did that drill make you feel? That was a 50. And you're going to go, okay, now we know the music's 40% of the overall score. The visual part's the overall score. Now put the two together and how did you feel about the whole show?
I see.
That's 20% of the overall score.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a lot of information. Fair point?
Yes.
Okay. and it is, but
Yes.
here's what you need to know. There's
I'm just one person trying to crunch all this in my head right now, which
But that's-
is kind
you
of
don't-
intimidating.
You don't have to do all that because there are 8 judges.
Okay.
And the 8 judges are watching for one thing.
Mhm.
So one person is watching for just music performance.
Mm.
One person is watching just for visual performance.
Okay.
One person's watching for music GE. One person's watching for visual GE. One person's watching for overall GE.
Gotcha.
And then you have a head judge whose job is to spot outliers.
Oh.
In other words,
Well, yeah. What's an outline?
this has happened in national events before.
Okay.
That you'll have a music judge, because a lot of times they double the panel, so that there's some averaging out.
Okay.
You gave the band a 92.5 in music. I gave them a 48.
That sounds like a problem.
So that would be where the head judge would step in and say, we have an outlier here.
Okay.
You two have to go get in a room and figure this out
Oh.
because your score took them from 1st to 14th.
Interesting.
And that's a real life example at Grand Nationals.
Really?
It's a real life example.
Holy mackerel. Okay.
And so not only do you have everyone just watching for one thing, but then you have someone whose job is to watch for everything and reconcile the numbers.
Gotcha.
So if I said to you now go back and assign a specific number just for music performance,
Okay.
and you were to watch that again,
Okay.
you would be much more able to hone in on just one thing, listen for just one thing, and assess just one thing. Fair point?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you one last tool
Okay.
to be super successful.
Oh.
It's called Box 5. Have you ever heard of Box 5?
Actually have heard of Box 5. Yes.
Yeah. Tell me what you know about Box 5.
Box 5 is a streaming service. It's a website that streams marching band.
Wrong answer.
Oh. That's what I thought it was. My bad.
Actually, they are, but they stole the name from marching band adjudication. There are 5 boxes in marching band adjudication,
I see.
and they go like this. Rarely is box 1,
Okay.
0 to 10%.
Okay.
Infrequently, 11 to 30. Sometimes 31 to 70%. Usually 71 to 90%.
Okay.
Always 91 to 100%. Makes sense now.
Yes.
Okay. So, Chris, I'm going to play this again.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the question you're asking yourself, what you want to do music effect, music performance, GE, you want to do visual effect, visual performance, or GE?
Good question. I think just because of the scale of like the screen that we're watching on, music might be the better way to go because I feel like maybe I can hear it better than seeing, listen, if anybody's ever watched a marching band competition remotely, it's obviously not the same experience, right? You don't feel the music
absolutely.
the same way, but also you pick up on different details. So I think that maybe the music performance itself might
performance
be, yeah.
or effect?
How about performance? Because again, I feel like I've already got a relatable experience with the effect.
So we're going to go back and we're going to watch this. And I'm going to ask you questions like articulations. Did they sometimes articulate together, usually articulate together, or always articulate together?
Okay.
Did they play with the same volume sometimes, always, or usually?
Okay.
Did you hear good characteristic sounds sometimes, usually, or always? Because now that you're honed in on one thing and you know the adjective you're looking for, you can now box it into one box of I'm somewhere between 71 and 84.
Gotcha.
And at that point, it becomes relative. Were they better than the last group or worse than that? Once you've set the benchmark of what sometimes is,
I see.
76. Everyone after that is either better than that benchmark or worse than that
So
benchmark.
you don't want to be the band that goes first? Is that what we're saying?
It definitely is harder. There's no question.
Okay.
It depends. I will
That's
tell
fair.
you, it depends on the length of the day. If there's 40 bands, yeah, you don't want to be first. If there's 10, they're going to remember you regardless.
Okay.
But absolutely. But I've been drawn first before.
Yeah.
And I always told my students, and you can tell this where the competitive come, our job is to wreck everyone else's day. We're going to set the bar so high no one comes above us.
That's fair.
Period.
Now, how is just this is kind of a weird side note, but how is order determined? I think I understand when it comes to when we go to state finals and whatnot, there's some ranking involved there, right? But just in a normal competition throughout the school year, how do you determine who goes when?
Well, there's a couple different ways. I like Arizona's way, so I'm going to share that with you. What they do is they take a division. So let's say Division 2, okay? Then they rank it in order of size. 51 bodies, 56 bodies, 61 bodies, 63. Makes sense? So if Division 2 is 50 to 70 bodies, they rank them in order size. Then they cut the division in half. So there's 10 bands under 62 and there's 10 bands over 62.
Okay.
And then inside the half boxes, it's random draw.
Oh.
So it's random draw, but you're never going to be more than 6 or 7 bodies off the person you're following. Because remember, the effect category is a volume category and a color guard category.
Yeah.
So if you're following someone who's 20 win players larger than you, you're in some trouble.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Just to really put it all in perspective, you look at our Sons band. They're a Division 1 band. They're a Division 2 win block.
Yeah.
They just have a very large drum line.
Okay, that makes sense.
So to come out and follow the 2 bands that beat us at our last competition, they had 40 more wins than we did and 40 more color guard.
Yeah, I don't know how you overcome that. Yeah,
you can't.
You overcome that.
You can't. Okay, so we're going to play the same section back again.
Okay.
You've chosen to do music performance. Ready?
Yeah, and if anybody's curious what we keep looking at, this is one of those, again, fun things that I mentioned. Make sure you get to the episode description on our website on baddadspodcast.com, because this guide that we're using ourselves to review this right now will be available to you as well. So please make sure you go there. So that way
you got to do your judge's introduction. Okay, you ready?
Oh,
okay. You like, hi, welcome to the Smith High School Band. My name's Scott Lang, and I'll be judging music performance today. I'll be looking for characteristics related to the quality of your sound, the tone of your sound, and the efficacy of your sound. I'm so excited to hear your band. Looking forward to you. I'll be back when you play your first note.
Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dub
introduce yourself to the band.
I was just going to dub my name over yours, and I can edit. What you said was beautiful. I don't have to recreate that. I can edit it in. And
you're not even going to try?
No, I don't think so. That's a lot. That's a mouthful. So wait, but I'm curious. Are you saying that they do this with the kids?
Every tape. So here's what's happening.
Recording that's provided back to
That's correct. So you introduce yourself.
I'm like, when did they
You give them a framework of you tell them what your area is. Give them a framework of what you're going to be assessing them on.
Okay.
Wish them good luck.
Gotcha.
Tell them you'll be back when they're ready to play. Because there's usually 8 to 9 minutes in between bands. You can do that in about 45 seconds. It gives you a chance to drink a cup of coffee and get a burger.
So in the podcast,
introduce yourself.
In the podcast world, we call that a pre-roll. They basically record a pre-roll.
Okay.
And then
pre-roll your adjudication tape.
Okay. Hello, my name is Chris Flynn, and I am here to judge general music.
Music performance.
Music. Sorry.
That's okay.
I can't even remember what I'm doing because I'm so overwhelmed by all of this. Again, so my name is Chris Flynn, and I am here to judge music performance for your band. I'm super excited to hear your performance today, and I'll make sure that I provide proper critiques based on what I hear and what I see based on your school's performance today. I don't know if that's any value in it. I almost don't want to watch. I almost just want to listen.
That's smart, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
And your framework of judgment is rarely, infrequently, sometimes, usually, or always.
Okay.
You heard good characteristic sounds from all players.
I would say usually.
Okay. You heard everyone is an ensemble without any individual sticking out and being heard individually.
I would say usually as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
You heard all instrument groupings represented equally.
Okay, so I'm going to say usually, again, just because it's based on the format that we're listening in, and maybe that's a little harder for me to identify. So I'll probably say usually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Percussion?
I could hear it in there. At
the same level of...
Okay, so that's a fair point. And again, this is me just... Okay.
Right, no, you do.
So I'm having a hard time separating myself from being someone who records in edits and specifically like records audio for these shows, right? So what also is happening right now, folks, is this is why it's hard, I think, as a band parent sometimes to put yourself in those shoes, because I want to give the kids the benefit of the doubt almost to say, no, I think it was there, right? But that's not, you can't do that.
Yeah, because there's a group coming after whose kids also deserve. Okay, you heard notes start and stop at the exact same time.
I would say sometimes.
Okay, good, excellent. That's really. You heard the front ensemble represented the same as the wind block.
Yeah, I would say sometimes for that as well.
Okay.
Just based on what I heard.
And the overall characteristic of sound, high voices, mid voices, low voices, they were represented with low being the loudest, mids being second, and the highs being the least.
Sometimes.
Okay, so the 6 questions I asked you, you had 3 sometimes and 3 usuallys.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So you would give them what score based on the box 5. You're somewhere in between box 3 and box 4. Now remember, you're only judging music.
Okay. I'm trying to do the math in my head. I would say probably high 60s.
Okay. So your initial reaction was pretty close.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, pat yourself on the back.
Oh, okay.
You did good. Like you said 70s, somewhere in there. And I would probably agree with your assessment, but now you have the framework, the vocabulary, and the structure to justify it. A critique when a director comes to you and says, hey, why'd you give me a 69? And
okay.
Your answer would be because usually you played with good sound, but not always. Usually you attacked and articulated together, but not always. Yeah. Usually you have that framework. So you're starting to see it's more like an Excel spreadsheet than it is an artistic interpretive endeavor. Fair point?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
totally
that because you're doing music, your score is going to be 40%.
Gotcha.
And if there's 2 of you to balance it out, then they would average your 2 together.
That makes sense.
And then if you were a 70 and the guy next to you or gal next to you gave him a 92, the head judge would come over and say, we have a problem. What did you hear? What did you hear? So
just from your experience, then again, let us, remove the curtain a little bit. What happens when those 2 people get together? Have you been involved in any of those conversations? Like how do they come to that conclusion?
It happens
so far apart.
It happens almost at every competition.
Okay.
In fact, you want to know a secret?
Yeah.
It happened at our first competition with our band.
Interesting.
Because I knew the 2 judges.
Okay.
And they were fair apart on our numbers.
Interesting.
And so they got together and they talked about it and said, all right, what's the number we're going to use as our baseline? It's not about who's right. It's I hear this, you hear this. It's irrelevant what the number is as long as it's a consistent baseline. And so almost every contest, parents, they hold scores for the first 5 bands. So I'm going to go, yep, they're 72, they're 74, they're an 86, they're a 92. Now, after 5 bands, I'm going to go back and look at those numbers again. After 5 bands, I turn my numbers in.
Okay.
Then after every band, you submit your numbers after every band so they can get the tabulation sheet going. But you almost always hold your first 5 scores. Okay. Because you're figuring out, especially if you're an out-of-state judge or you've never seen those groups, but you've obviously realized by the 4th week of competition, that same judge has seen our son's band 3 out of the 4 weeks.
Sure.
So that person, he or she knows what they're listening for, knows what they're looking for, but they might have done music performance 3 weeks ago. Now they're doing visual execution today.
Gotcha. So I guess using that example, so can I say if I'm, as a band parent, if I'm concerned about, let's say, the conditions of the show, whether it be unusually cold or something like that. So to your point, holding those 5 scores allows them to kind of set an even baseline because everybody's got the same conditions per se.
Absolutely. It just allows you to, again, if you're new to the state, I mean, Texas, you were at San Antonio Bands of America. A 3rd place group in Texas is very different than a 3rd place group in Arizona.
Yes.
And so you need to watch a little bit and go, oh, here's the standard of this area.
Okay.
And, and if I'm doing a competition on, an impoverished area that is small schools only, and most of the band directors are really PE teachers, they just did high school marching band, my numbers are going to look different than if I'm in a highly affluent suburban area where every band's 200 kids.
Okay.
And they audition kids and cut kids that aren't good.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you can see and hear from a different level now that you have some vocabulary and some framework around it?
Yeah, actually, I would say very much so. And it kind of makes me maybe a little bit excited for whatever my next live event is, just because, again, I think it's going to have a different impact.
Okay, so before we go live, you now understand the mathematical part of adjudication. Fair point?
Yes.
Now I want to talk to you about the artistic part of adjudication. I'm going to play you another clip. Now, admittedly, Chris.
You just wait. You just had me bought in that it's an Excel spreadsheet, and now we're going artistic.
No, yes, because remember what I said, 80 to 90% of it is an Excel spreadsheet. It's binary. It's right or it's wrong.
Okay.
But there is 20% that's an interpretive. That part where you went, I know this song.
Yes.
That's artistic. Now, to be clear, there might be another adjudicator that says, really? We're going to do Tinkerbell? You're a band of this size and you're going to do Tinkerbell?
Yeah.
And it might hurt them. That's the artistic part.
That was my issue in the preview episode. I talked about, the complexity of what they play. And I'm like, why doesn't that matter? But ultimately, I get it.
Now, you judged what you heard and you judged what you saw.
Yep.
What you didn't judge is what you didn't hear and didn't see.
And what do you?
So I'm going to teach you how to.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
So this next group,
you just had me bought in, and now I'm lost
again.
again.
This is what makes it cool. Is it is a combination of art and science.
Okay.
It's like those kits you got when you were like 8. Your parents bought you, and you got to make putty and glue out of flour and.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this next one, this is an incredibly successful band that has won at the highest of levels.
Okay.
They're no bigger than this band here.
Gotcha.
And they're the same kids that eat the same Wheaties in the morning and rehearse the same amount.
Gotcha.
But it's a very different problem.
Okay.
Mr. Adjudicator Flynn, did they sometimes play with good control? Always play with good control, or usually play with good control?
I would say always.
Did they articulate in unison? And by the way, they were triple tonguing.
Sure did.
Sometimes, usually, or always?
I mean, it sounded like always to me.
Did you hear all of the voices in the ensemble? Sometimes, usually, or always?
No, you could hear everything. And it's impressive that I feel like you can be that even toned and get all of those instruments sounding the same. So I would say always.
So that's a box 5 band, right?
Yeah.
So now you know that band has set the standard. Give them a number.
I would give them, if we're saying always is that scale, 94.
Okay. Great number, by the way. So you have a 70 and a 94.
Okay.
Same size band.
Yeah.
Now you have, I don't want to use the term bottom because they're an excellent band, but you have a 70 as a baseline. You have a 94 as a top line. Every band that follows this, were they better than the first band? Were they better than the second band?
Okay.
Then you're able to slot them.
Gotcha.
They are not as good as the second band, but better than the first band. Okay. Let me go back to my box 5. Where did they fall in the box? And that's how you take 20, 30, even 40 bands back to back.
Gotcha.
You start with sometimes, usually, always.
Okay. And
then you slot them based on what you've heard in reference for the rest of the day. So those first 5 bands, those scores that you're holding, you're setting a rubric.
So, and maybe this is a little bit off topic, but if we're talking about these are the same size bands, then how do we get to such different production? Like, how do we get to such different output?
Well, we're going to talk about that in episode 7 when we talk about money.
Okay.
Right? Because money is a part of it, right?
Well, I would imagine.
Because it's the quality of staff, the quality of props, the quality of the show design, and
Gotcha.
who they paid to design that show and stage that show. So that's the last part I want to share with you is what you didn't see.
Okay.
Okay. It's there and you're going to see it now that I point out.
Okay.
Now that we know that we want general effect. Fair point.
Yes.
We know that we want that volume is GE. Fair point.
Yes.
Okay. That's a 300-piece band that never left midfield. They were always within 25 yards of the sideline.
Yeah.
The first band never approached the sideline.
Gotcha.
That's a design flaw that kept them from having effect.
Interesting.
So they knew that moment they had to put out some sound to get that top line effect. They know the further they are back, that the less effect that they're going to have. So they staged that. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. You saw the part where the trumpets were triple tonguing and
Yes.
We know it's effect. We know it's performance. Fair point.
Yes.
Those who are performing didn't move. They're standing still.
Okay.
The people that weren't playing, they are running in back of them. It's what's called a 5 to 5. 5 steps and 5 yards.
Okay.
Normal marching's 8 to 5. They are sprinting, crossing each other because it's a great effect
Visually.
and you can't find dirt. You can't find dirt when it's crossing each other. So they're hiding performance.
Okay.
They're creating effect and they're enhancing performance by not having the kids who are getting their butts kicked musically by having them stand still while creating effect. So great design is enhancing effect and enhancing performance and minimizing where you don't have effect and minimizing your opportunity. It's called exposure to error.
Okay. So just to bring this back to conversations that we've had previously, right? So if I'm relating this to sports, right? This basically means that you're putting the right player in the right position ultimately, right? You're not going to put somebody if they don't have a strength to be able to do this one thing, you know that they're better off in this role, which now that you say that, I can think of other examples where I've definitely seen people in certain roles, and it kind of makes more sense. Like I think I understand.
Okay, but now think organizationally. So I'm going to tell you the moment is that big chord we just heard. Fair point?
Yes.
I call them credit card moments. I'm going to give you the credit card 4 times in a show.
Okay.
And that's where you bust it out and you let the big dog run.
Okay.
You get it 4 times in a show.
And one is always the end, right? I feel like it's always the climax at the end.
Well, or it's a down ending. But that's still a moment. Okay. But you get 4 moments in a show. Okay. So he knows from an arranger standpoint, he's going to build from a woodwind flurry into a brass articulation, into an ensemble moment, into a big hit. That is a 64 measure musical crescendo. Fair point?
Yes.
Okay. So that is a musical design for effect.
Okay.
You want to make the big moment sound big? Start with a small moment. Okay. We know that we're doing a lot of movement for visual effect, so we can hide the fact those guys aren't moving when they're playing really hard stuff.
Okay.
Fair point?
Yeah.
Now,
that makes sense.
Here's what, this is where the art comes in. The drill writer knows he's got to have that group in front of the 50, arranged by brass section, with the brass to the front, the woodwinds to the back, on drill set 54.
Okay.
He started in drill set 42 playing chess to get him there.
Okay.
So he knows, the arranger knows we are going to throw down at measure 58.
Gotcha.
The drill writer knows for effect, I've got them scattered in page 41.
Gotcha.
But by page 58, I got to have them front and center, grouped homogeneously by instrument, ready to hurt some people. How do I get them there while I'm minimizing my exposure to air and maximizing my visual impact?
Gotcha.
That's the art. And that comes under the show designer.
Okay.
Who takes a step back and says, hey, music arranger, here's my big moment. Hey, drill writer, here's why I need lots of flurries so it hides the fact that my brass section isn't moving. But I need you to stage it in a way that I get everyone here by measure 52.
Gotcha.
So I want you to watch this section.
I was going to say, I feel like that's probably something that's fairly consistently lost on a casual audience like myself as a band parent, because there's so many things that I'm already taking in that I'm not sure that I would notice that level of intricacy to say, oh, I see how this created this.
Because that great moment pushed 15 yards back wouldn't be as great. That great moment staged on the 40-yard line wouldn't be as great.
Gotcha.
And so the best analogy I can give you is it's chess. The Grandmaster, I've got checkmate in 12 moves. I see it in my head. I'm not one of those people.
Gotcha.
But a good drill writer and a good show designer is thinking for those 5 credit card moments. And what do I do in between to maximize effect and minimize exposure to performance error?
Gotcha.
So watch this one last time. You're looking for minimizing of performance exposure to error, maximizing effect, staging over 64 measures to build to the credit card moment.
Okay.
He's moving all the chess pieces right now. You just did a GE critique.
Okay.
And then the only thing I would add in is the difference between the group that was 70 and the group that was not 70. Look at their prop staging. They're front and center. They frame the band in an arc, not a flat line against the back, and the guards integrated.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's been a matter of 35, 40 minutes. You've now gotten a tutorial. Do you now feel like you understand the structural build of an adjudication framework?
Yes. Framework, yes.
You know the weights and the values of we value music at 40, performance at 40,
Yes.
visual performance, and we value GE at 20.
I do, yes.
You understand that you're one of 7 judges and you're only responsible for one thing, and that you're looking for not only what was there, which you could do today, Chris,
Gotcha.
but with some experience, what's not there, what they're not doing that they should have been doing.
Okay.
Like the color guard was never integrated in the first group. The props were flat against a sideline. They could have framed them.
Yeah.
The first group, every set was symmetrical.
Gotcha.
Which is exposure to error. I can spot flaws easier.
Gotcha. Which, so to some extent, so as a band parent, I'm not necessarily sitting there for the entire division of performances. So to some extent, I'm already, I guess, at a disadvantage, right? Because as you talked about, all of those things end up bouncing up against each other. The performances of the bands themselves end up being weighed against each other and all of that stuff. So to some extent, I'm at a disadvantage. It's not really even fair for me to say, this is what I think the score is, if I don't even have the knowledge, I haven't seen the rest of the performance.
No, but you would have a baseline knowledge of your own child's band because you've seen that 5 times. Okay, then ask yourself, musically, were they better than my kid's band?
Okay.
Visually, were they better than my kid's band? GE, did that show leave me more impressed than my kid's band?
Okay.
And if the answer is yes, okay, you don't need to get the number right. You need to get the order right.
Okay.
No one cares what the number is. All anyone cares about is, did we get them in the right order?
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair.
So I hope the listener and you, Chris, have enjoyed the journey, and now you can download the certificate.
Yes,
that will be on there that makes you a certified adjudicator, and you can frame it and lord it over your child.
And you know what? And listen, share it on social media and show us where you've hung your certificate, because you're so proud to have your Scott Lang. We want you to share, because it's a good story. And then when people come over, it's a conversation piece. You can talk about your new certification and all the hard work you did to earn it. So,
and when your child comes home, you can say, that was a box 3 rehearsal tonight, sweetheart. And they're going to be really upset with you. And you can say, listen, I'm just a judge.
I wonder if I start talking like that, I might even go over my kid's head at this point. Imagine.
But can I ask you this? And it'll never match the joy of it, your own child.
Okay.
But would you enjoy watching other bands now having that level of understanding?
So I think I would appreciate things more, right? So Scott has mentioned a couple of times credit card moments. So, again, as a more casual viewer of some of these different, performances and competitions, those are the things that obviously stand out,
and
which are very calculated.
Credit card, because you would not give your child a credit card every day.
Yeah.
It's for a special occasion, for a special moment to buy something really big.
Gotcha.
When I hand a band a credit card, it's a special occasion, a special moment, and I want you to go big.
So I guess where I'm going is those things are obvious, and they're made to be obvious, because even somebody casual like me goes, and if you've never been to a marching band competition before,
you're probably not listening to this podcast.
Okay, maybe. Or if you have a kid who's up and coming, thinking about if you're moving into high school, so maybe we have some parents who are thinking about continuing their kids into high school. Certainly take the opportunity, if you have not, to attend and go just participate in one of these shows. 1, because it's great to support the kids, but 2, there are those moments that until I first was able to sit live and be a part of one of these performances, where those things really do hit you. They go through you in a way that's really hard to describe.
Yeah.
But it is powerful.
It's sensory overload.
Oh, yeah. And then some bands, again, do it right the first note of their show. They come out and they hit you in the face. And I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but those credit card moments, I think, are the ones that sell us on bands as casual viewers. But knowing all these different intricacies now, yes, I think I can be more fair to say I understand the things that are happening in between, or how we got here, or things of that level, is to appreciate more, other than just, hey, I think this song isn't as good as the one this other band played. Well, that's not really what it's about. It's not about, again, I guess that's effect for me personally, but that's not.
But
that's not the goal.
The thing was, I think the listener should know what Chris did so well is he got the score right the first time. His score moved from 70 to 69. He got the number right. He intuitively knew what he was seeing.
Okay.
He didn't have the vocabulary to express it.
That's fair.
And he didn't have the rubric to justify it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see a band, you're like, well, they're better than the other one. Why? I don't know. Now you know why you feel that way.
Yeah, that's true. And I think having that knowledge will make it easier for me to maybe curb some of the emotion when it comes to watching my own kids' band. So I think that's certainly where
it's okay. Be emotional with your own kids' band. Just judge everyone else's band.
All right. Well,
I still love my kids' band because it's my kids' band.
Of course. Well, yeah, right. I just mean maybe I can be more fair in some of those assessments.
But I hope, and Chris, I hope you've enjoyed just reframing, rethinking this activity. I'm
in awe still. I'm almost just sitting here. I'm literally thinking back about all the performances I've been to, and yeah, so I'm still digesting it even as we're sitting here.
So I'll tell you what, at the next competition next year, you and I will stand together for one of the competitions, and we'll go minute by minute.
Let's do a live reaction. Let's record it live.
Let's absolutely do that.
That would be fun.
But that would be more than 8 episodes. Are we committing? Is this a long-term relationship?
Maybe we go on a break. I don't know. Maybe we go on a break.
We're taking a break.
Maybe we go on a break for a little while. Maybe we come back with episode 6. It's 6 months from now. I don't know. But
tell them how they get in touch with us.
Please.
And get their certificate.
Yes. Go to banddadspodcast.com. What you'll want to do for all of the fun documents, including your certificate, go to the episodes list, go to the episodes guide, click on episode 3. Which will be Do You Hear What I Hear? In the episode description, you will see multiple links that will also describe what it is that they're leading to. So again, things like this cool little visual that we have for you that helps you understand the rubrics and how we get to the point of coming up with the scores, the box 5, all that fun stuff that we talked about is all going to be really visually represented here well. Again, your certificate, the links to the videos that we watched as well. Because if you have the opportunity to, of course, listen, if you're sitting in your car listening to this, then please don't, pull up YouTube videos and start watching these bands play music. But if you have the opportunity to either go back to it, or if you have, the opportunity in the moment to truly pause us for a second, go to this link, click on this thing so you can understand what I was trying to digest at the same time. I think it would be fun. I think you would understand, again, what it is and really see the differences. And this conversation will make more sense to you if you can tie those things together as well. So this was a lot of fun. So Scott, thank you for putting this together and sharing your knowledge with us because you are the expert.
Well, I'm not an expert. And by the way, this rubric document will be available as well on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. We will be back with episode 4. So we'll see you guys then. Thank you.
Take care.
To stay up to date with the Band Dads podcast, visit our website, banddadspodcast.com. Want to communicate with the Band Dads? Send an email to feedback@banddadspodcast.com. The Band Dads podcast is a 5 Deuce Media production. For more information, visit 5deucemedia.com. That's numeral 5deucemedia.com. For more information on Scott Lang leadership and solutions for music education, visit scottlang.net.